drastic turning point in the First World War. This battle took place just west of Reims of France. The Second Battle of Marne was fought between the Germans and the Allied powers, taking place from July 15 to August 5, 1918. The Allied powers that participated were France, Britain, and the United States. The battle was a part of a series of German offensives that were intended to defeat the Allies in the summer of 1918. The Second Battle of Marne was the last major German spring offensive on the Western Front during World War I. Leading up to this battle, which proved to be a crucial victory for the Allies, Germany had success in the Third Battle of Isen and the Ludendorff's plans that had been carried out. The German army was mainly defensive throughout 1915 through 1917. On the other hand, the Allies implemented offensive tactics on the Western Front. At the beginning of 1918, there was a small change as declining Allied manpower and the exhaustion of British forces caused the French and the British to go on the defensive on the Western Front. Their plan was to wait for sufficient Americans to arrive, aiding with greater production of tanks, planes, and other mechanical means, before returning to the offense. Germany had a desperate gamble in March of 1918 in which the army simply ran out of reserves when the summer of 1918 came.
As a visual, these maps show a better understanding of the Western Front before, during, and after the Second Battle of the Marne. On the map to the left, showing the front lines on November 10th, dashed, and March 20th, solid, the German deployments are clearly attacking the French deployments on the Marne River very close to Reims. The solid lines representing German attacks show the German 7th Army attacking the French through the Marne River. Also, this map shows Germany's strength maintaining their ground and taking an offensive approach. On the map to the right, the Germans were clearly pushed back from the Marne as the front line on August 8th solid shows. This was a result of the Second Battle of the Marne, which caused great loss for the Germans and a crucial victory for the Allies, resulting in the Germans going on the defensive. These maps show the great push the Allies gave for front line further east and the Germans to begin retreat. A major commander on Germany's side was Crown Prince Wilhelm. Even though Wilhelm started out World War I with little leadership experience, he was given command of the 5th Army in August 1914. He had a good win in Ardennes and still took command of the army during the Verdun offensive against the French. Later, Wilhelm was promoted in 1916 to be head of Army Group Crown Prince, which was the combination of 3 armies on Germany's front line. In 1917, Wilhelm wanted Chancellor Bethmann Hollweg to sue for peace to end a useless war. Even though Germany won at Isen in May 1918, Wilhelm knew the Allies would have a counterattack. He wanted to retreat because he did not believe the war would be won. This was part of the Second Battle of Marne.
The 1918 Spring Offensive was the German attacks that proved to be the last straw for their winning mentality. The Spring Offensive was known as Ludendorff Offensive. This name came from General Erich Ludendorff, who was named Quartermaster General in the Second Army during World War I. The Second Army's goal was to capture the Liège forts, which was part of the von Schlieffen Plan. Because Ludendorff was successful with this goal, he was sent to Prussia to be Chief of Staff. He was then appointed Quartermaster General and later Chief of Staff of the German Army in August 1916. Ludendorff was the chief engineer behind the war efforts during this time. The reason the United States was brought into the war was because Ludendorff supported unrestricted submarine warfare. The United States did not agree with this policy. Ludendorff wanted the Kaiser to send them into the armed forces who wanted a peace settlement. This involvement, Second Battle of the Marne. Ludendorff then makes a statement about the French's plan. He said Foch's plan was undoubtedly to cut off the entire arc of our front south of the Isen by a breakthrough on the flank, but with the proven leadership of our 7th and 9th armies, that was quite impossible. In this statement, Ludendorff reiterated that the Allied counterattacks at the Marne had not been unexpected and had proven of little consequence. The attacks during the Second Battle of Marne were along the Western Front during World War I. The Germans realized that their only chance of victory was to defeat the Allies before the human resources of the United States were deployed. When the Allies attacked, the German troops that fought back were exhausted, poorly supplied, and convinced that they promised victory had slipped right through their fingertips. Surprisingly, the Germans had the advantage of nearly 50 divisions. The German army's tactics was focused on stormtrooper units. The stormtroopers' tactics were to attack and disrupt enemy headquarters. The stormtrooper tactic also split its best soldiers into elite units. These elite units and stormtroopers gave the Germans an advantage in the offense. However, this meant that they would suffer much more casualties and the other divisions were weak. Meanwhile, the Allies developed a defensive plan. The plan was to reduce the proportion of troops in their front line.
The Second Marne Offensive began on July 15, 1918, which marked the starting point of the battle. German divisions of the 1st and 3rd Armies attacked the French 4th Army to the east of Reims, which Henry Girard led. Henry Girard played an important role in the Second Battle of Marne. As a leader of the French army, he greatly assisted in stopping the Germans' offensive onslaught. Because of his success, he was given the nickname the Lion of Champagne. Also, due to success, Gerard's Fourth Army was moved to an offensive position in September of 1918 at Villers-Cotterêts. As a first-hand account, Gerard makes a speech to the French and American soldiers. The strong and brave hearts of free men beat in your breasts. None will look behind, none will give away. Every man will have but one thought: kill them in abundance until they have had enough. This speech helped to motivate the French and American soldiers to defeat the Germans in the Second Battle of the Marne. 17 divisions of the 7th Army helped the 9th Army attack the French 6th Army in the west. The point of attacking range like this was to split the French forces, thought Ludendorff. However, helping the French was 85,000 U.S. troops and the BEF, known as British Expeditionary Force. All this helped for the French stop the attack on the east of Reims. On the other hand, the west of Reims attack proved to be working. The Germans broke through the French 6th Army and crossed the Marne. The Germans failed to break through. Ferdinand Foch, the Allied Supreme Commander, sent a counter-offense on July 18th. Ferdinand Foch was given command of the 9th Army during the Battle of the Marne. He led the French counterattack. He stopped the German forces during the push in the spring of 1918. This was the turn of the war. Foch was named Marshal of France in July 1918, before the German surrender in November. This meant he sent 24 divisions of the French army along with 350 tanks. He wanted to get rid of the German troops along the French lines. The Germans retreated on July 20th, but they were back on August 3rd. This was the launch of the Great Spring 1918 offense. This was the Eisen-Wesel rivers. The Allied counter-offensive was stopped on August 6th. Propaganda was very important throughout World War I in boosting morale and recruitment for the armies. Propaganda can also be used to attack those who opposed war or those not supporting the war effort. This German poster, as a form of propaganda, shows a child begging for money to donate to the German army. Translated to English, it would read, "Loan for the war." This poster encourages donations to the German army that needs money for supplies and weapons. Another poster here also encourages the citizens of Germany to loan the army money. The phrase here translated is read as, "I go to the front. Have you already subscribed to the 6th War Loan?" This poster shows a German soldier in an attempt to persuade the citizens to join the 6th War Loan. The French also used propaganda during World War I for similar reasons as Germany. In 1918, this poster was printed in Nancy and tells the people to honor those who have given their life for the freedom of the world. The people who have given their lives were the French and Allied soldiers who fought in World War I. This propaganda was an attempt to encourage the citizens to support the war.
There were heavy losses for both sides, and for the first time in 4 years, the front was moving. The losses that Germany had received could not be made up due to fast diminishing resources of men, material and moral. These results made the setbacks of 1918 so serious. A huge turning point in the growing presence of American troops were ominous. The Germans received more casualties than the Allied forces. France suffered 95,000 casualties. Germany had 168,000, with Britain having 13,000 casualties. The U.S. was close behind with 12,000 casualties. The weapons that were used were grenades, cannon fire, bombs, aircraft, and machine guns. The tank played a key role for the Allies when they had learned the advantages of armored warfare. This warfare had been curiously undeveloped in Germany. The Allies were able to use these tanks together in coordination with infantry, artillery, and air power, which kept pressure up on the weak, retreating German army. The results of the Marne scared Ludendorff. His planned Flanders offensive was postponed and later canceled entirely. No other large-scale attempt to win the war occurred. It ended with the counterattack of the Allied powers and the Germans being pushed back more than they began. In conclusion, the Second Battle of the Marne was an effective win for the Allied powers and a devastating loss for Germany. This marked a turning point in World War I and is one of the last major battles. The losses Germany sustained from the Second Battle of the Marne caused them to lose hope and implement defensive tactics.